Sing I would like to extend my most humble greetings to the students, alumni, family, and friends of Mississippi Valley State University on behalf of the Student Government Association here at the Educational Oasis of the Delta. My name is Jhah, and it is my profound pleasure and honor to serve as the student body president for the 2020-2021 academic year. I am overjoyed that you have made yourself at home at the university. Each February, Black History Month celebrates the contributions made by persons of African descent and celebrates the defining moments in our history that have shaped society. Students, we represent the future decision makers and leaders of this country. Continue to be vital voices and serve as active agents for positive change. This past year, with all that has happened, we have become part of creating our own Black history. Throughout the duration of today's program, I am hoping that we can delve deeper into Black history and what it means to be Black in this day and age. With that, I would love to sincerely welcome you to our Black History Month Convocation.
The name of my piece is Send Up Thanks. Carl G. Woodson, we thank you. Because you were thankful enough to want to dedicate a month to our ancestors who toughed out the injustices that made life rough. Ancestors, we thank you. Because without you, there is no us. You make me proud to know that there are enough reasons on why Black Pride should be celebrated every month. My peers, I thank you. Because you haven't gave up. The fight is so much easier when there is a hand to join when you rise up. The future, I thank you. For everything you will be. The marks you will leave leaves much to the imagination to believe. I'm so thankful to be a part of this history because it shows that we as innovators and creators can't be beat. We have always left our mark. No hatred could come and wash away our footprints as tides do singing. The strength the past left manifested into love. Maybe the Nile River is such a phenomenon because, in the words of Nikki Giovanni, the tears from our birth pains created the Nile. Maybe our skin is so envied because Black boys turn blue under the moonlight. This 1 month is just a dedication. This doesn't mean every month you should harbor hesitation. Embrace your history. Don't just crown the front runners. Let's shed light on all the Dundaughters of the movement. Bayard Rustin, MLK's right-hand man. Glenn Burke, who was accredited for creating the high five with his man's Dusty Baker. Claudette Coven, who made one of the first stands over Montgomery's public transportation system. We can only conquer the system when we reverse inside hate. We must learn that we were taught to break from the inside. So let's shake the outside's hold on us and make our ancestors thankful from the milk and honey skies. Thank you.
To Dr. Briggs and faculty, to the entire MVSU family, it is truly an honor to stand before you and to offer for your consideration my perspective on the representation, identity, and diversity of the Black family. I have been tasked with the duty of offering some concise commentary on the eclectic evolution of the Black family. I believe it is important to note that time does not allow me today to adequately address the depth, width, and breadth of what the Black family is. For there is no one simple description that can adequately detail who we are. As unique as the intricately woven handmade patch quilt that adorns my bed at home, so too is the tapestry of the Black family. Ingrained into the global fabric of humanity's history, the Black family is not isolated to one single geographic location. embedded into all genetic codes, and comprised of varying categories, groupings, and pairings. The black family is more than our DNA. It is an institution by which our race has struggled, stumbled, grown, prospered, and evolved. A case study of the TV episodic timeline of the last 30 years can help provide insight for us into just how the views and values of the black family has changed here in America. You may remember some of these TV shows. If you watched TV in the 70s and the 80s, you would remember shows like Sanford and Son and Good Times. You would remember the Jeffersons and shows like What's Happening. Maybe you grew up in the 80s to the 90s. You remember the Cosby Show and 227 and Amen. You remember Different World and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You remember watching Rock and Moesha and Tia and Tamara and Sister. Maybe you're early 2000 to 2010 baby, and you grew up watching the Hughleys, My Wife and Kids, or the Bernie Mac Show. Everybody Hates Chris. Maybe Blackish was your favorite TV show, or The Proud Family if you were liking to watch cartoons. But there is one particular show that I believe we can use to help us today as we seek to show the transition and evolution of the black family. It was in September of 1989 that the now iconic TV show Family Matters aired its first episode. The series revolved around the Winslow family, a middle-class African-American family living in Chicago, Illinois. It consisted of Carl and his wife Harriet. They had 3 children, 2 daughters, 1 son. Carl's mother lived with them, also a sister-in-law, and she had a son. And then they had a nerdy neighbor by the name of Steve Urkel, who was not living with the Winslows, but he was what I consider a part of their extended family. And so I want to use this episode, this iconic TV show to help us as a guide and as a template to show us in our thematic thrust here today of the evolution, the identity of the black family. And my objective today is not to address all the matters that plague the black family, rather stress to this audience that the black family matters. And there are 4 reasons I want to offer for your consideration as to why family matters. And so here they go. They all began with H in some form. First of all, the family matters because it honors God. And I'm not here to preach to you, but for those of you, irregardless of your spiritual plane or your religious background, in the Bible, in the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, God himself says, "It is not good that man should be alone, and I will make him a helper to fit for him." And the record is that God puts Adam to sleep, plucks from him a rib, presents back to him a wife, and even before the institution of the church comes in the book of Acts in the New Testament, God first of all institutes the family and the institution of marriage. And so if God honors the family, we too as African Americans understand that the family is important. We understand it is our genesis, it is our home base, it is that thing that keeps us together. You should remember that as you grew up, you look fondly, if you're like me, of time spent at Big Mama's house in the summers playing with cousins and nieces and nephews. You remember the family reunions. You remember the line dances. You remember, if you're like me, having that drunk uncle that everybody knew that always would borrow $20 and say he pay you back, but you never got that $20. But it is this family institution that God creates that gives him honor and also gives us a heritage and a legacy. And that's the second thing. It honors God. But then secondly, family matters because it gives us a heritage. I have my youngest niece, my oldest brother's youngest baby, by the name of Harlem Rose. Every time Harlem comes to visit me and my wife and our children, she tells her mama, I'm going to see my people. I'm going to see my folk. And here it is, as the black family, all of us got some folk we share blood with, we share last name with. But I stand before you today to remind you that family is more than our blood ties. Family is more than the people that share our last name. Family is those people that not only share our genetic code, but family are the people that help and hope us as we go along in life. One of my favorite shows that I watch now on a Netflix series is a show by the name of Longmire. And in this show, in season 3 of this Netflix series, Longmire has a friend by the name of Harry by chance who gets put on trial, and his lawyer calls, because he's from a Cherokee Indian tribe that lives on the reservation. His lawyer calls one of the women that Harry helps as a character witness, and through examination, the woman says that Harry is family. And she said, well, how can Harry be family? You all are not blood related. And the woman goes on to say that the Cherokees believe that family is not just blood ties, but family are those people who show loyalty to you. In our heritage, we have people who have been loyal to us, who have kept us, who have stood with us through the test of time, and that loyalty has been tested from generation to generation. That loyalty stood the test of time when my grandmama was going through the civil rights movement. That loyalty stood the test of time when I came up and I watched Rodney King being pulled out of a truck and beaten in the streets of Los Angeles. That loyalty is even now being tested in 2021 as we day by day watch African American after African American being killed by those who are paid to serve and protect. But yet we love a country, as Doc Rivers once said, we continue to love a country that doesn't love us back. But our heritage says, keep on pushing. Our legacy says it's going to be a brighter day ahead. So family matters because it is honored by God, but it gives us a heritage. It gives us a grounding. It gives us a home plate. It gives us a place that we can look back and say, this is where I came from. This is my root. This is how I have learned my folk ways, my morals, and my values. In my heritage, I come from a line of kings and plumbers. I come from a line of sharecroppers and slaves. I come from a line of people who came from Africa. Whatever your heritage is, all of us got a history. All of us got a story. All of us got a legacy. My father, who died at the age of 50, would always say to me and my siblings, all you have is your name and your family. And I remember vividly the day that he dropped me off for my freshman year of college. I did not start my college career here at Mississippi Valley, but my freshman and half of my sophomore year, I was at Mississippi College in Clinton. And here it is, 1997. My father takes me down. My mother stays at home. It's me and my daddy. And we took this 2.5-hour drive, and we sat in silence. And he pulls up in his Buick Roadmaster, and I'm sitting on the passenger side. And before I could open the door, he turns and he looks at me, and he says to me, "Not Edward, I love you." I already knew that. He doesn't say, "Call me if you need anything." I already had his number on speed dial. But this is what my father says to me. He says, "Son, I have given you a good name. Bring it back to me the way I gave it to you." In other words, he was saying to me, I have given you a heritage. I have given you a legacy. And the Thomas name stands for something, means something. And your last name may not be Thomas. It could be Williams. It could be Smith. It could be Barnes, whatever it is. But in your family, that name gives you a heritage and a history. And as you think on your history, your heritage, there is much to be proud of. There's things that we often are ashamed of. But through it all, the family matters. Thirdly, not only does God honor the family, not only does family give us a heritage, but thirdly, family gives us help. Whether you realize it or not, none of us got here on our own. I know we often say, "I pulled myself up by my own bootstrap." And whether you're a single, you're the only child, or whether you grew up in a large family, whether you got any living relatives, all of us need some help. All of us need somebody to help us go along. I am here because I had family and friends and people and acquaintances who have helped me go along. I was able to attend Mississippi Valley State because I had somebody who was not my blood family, but she was family nonetheless. When it was time for me to go back to school, she gave me a blank check and said, "You are now an investment." And on the day in May 5th, 2002, when I received my diploma from this great institution, I went back to that woman who helped me by paying my tuition and said, "Now you have received the return on your investment, and that investment has been paid in full. Thank you for all of your help." Now, somebody may not have given you a check, but somebody gave you an encouraging word. Somebody helped you as you've gone along. Somebody watched your baby when you were in high school because you were 16 and now find yourself being a single mother. Some coach helped you along the way by mentoring you even after your football season was over. Some teacher took interest and pride in who you were because they saw something in you. Some auntie who filled in when your mama died. Some uncle took the place of an absentee father. All of this help came from our families. And now as we are here in 2021 and more in this century, the 21st century, we are becoming more self-centered and going away from a family orientation. Can I remind us, and I think it is important that we understand that as black people, we have made it this far because we grew up in homes and communities that looked after one another. My grandfather was a farmer. He raised hogs, he raised cows, but in their day, if he slaughtered a hog, everybody got some ham. Everybody in the neighborhood got some bacon. If he killed a cow, everybody in the neighborhood, if they were in need, had some beef. And if he raised animal, but somebody else had some corn, somebody else had some butter beans and some peas. My grandmama never worked a day in my lifetime outside of the house. She raised 14 children after my grandfather had died, left her with 14 children in the home. There was never another man came in that house, but because there were people in the community that were not related to us by blood, but yet were family, they helped her. And I suggest we go back to that point as the black family, that we start taking care of our own. There's some young boy on your street that doesn't have a father, but there's plenty of men standing around. You don't have to sign a birth certificate, but you can help him and mentor him. There's some young lady, women who need your help. My sage and senior women, the Bible says to the senior women to be an example and show the younger women how to live holy and righteous. We need to be help to one another. But then finally, the family gives us a hope. We have hope because our ancestors and our forefathers have provided us a real view of a better tomorrow. How can you have hope today, Brother Thomas, with everything that's going on in our world? While we're now presently in a pandemic, the state of Texas and parts of Mississippi, we're dealing with water crises. People have died, and we're now looking at that we are in the richest nation in the world, but yet the citizens more seem to be in a third world country. How can you have hope? It's very simple. As I examine the black family, we have a propensity of overcoming. We have survived slavery. We have made it through Jim Crow. We have made it through separate but equal. We have made it through integration. We have made it during the times where we weren't allowed to go in the front door and we had to go around to the side door and the back door. We had times that we have overcome where we were 3 times the senior of our white counterparts, and we used to have to call them and say yes sir and no sir, yes ma'am and no ma'am, and older black men had to get off the curb and step off to the side and look down at the ground. We have overcome. So yes, I have a hope. I have a hope of a better tomorrow in spite of the constant barrage of seeing and watching African Americans being killed on a day-to-day basis, not from the pandemic, not from any sickness, but from our legal system. I have hope in spite of the fact that a black man is more prone to get locked up than he is to graduate from an institution of higher learning. Yes, I still have hope. I still have hope that these young ladies that are present here today who are going to school at a higher rate than our black boys and getting these degrees, I have a hope that for a better tomorrow, because I watched my grandmama with just a 3rd grade education raise a family. I watch those same women today as aunts and as aunties have their own children and instilling them the life lessons that their mother taught to them. And now me as a parent of 4 children, raising 3 girls and 1 boy with my own, with my wife, I have a hope. And that hope is instilled in me and was instilled in me by my black family. I was taught from my father and my mother to love God with all my heart, with all my mind, with all my soul, and also to love my neighbor as myself. As I close here today, and I hope that I have accomplished my objective, I leave you with this thought. The black family has evolved and looks different in so many stages and dichotomies and socioeconomic perspectives and sexuality. And we talk about the nuclear family, the blended family, but whatever type of family you have, that family matters. And maybe you don't have any blood relatives, but I encourage you to take some folk into your family. I'm a preacher, so I got to be and do like preachers do. In the Bible, it talks about, he says, love your neighbor as yourself. The disciples asked Jesus, who is your neighbor? And I want to suggest to you, as the black family has always taken care of its neighbors. Not just the people that live across the street, over the fence, but your neighbor are those that you come in contact with. Black folk just have a propensity of loving people. So I want to end by encouraging us as the black family, as the MVSU family, to keep on loving one another. And if we keep on loving one another, if we keep on supporting one another, encouraging one another, motivating one another, speaking life to one another, we'll have that hope that springs eternal. God bless you.
Pastor Thomas, I want to thank you again for those inspiring words. I know we each found something that resonated with us. I know I did. So we truly appreciate that strong message. And as a sign of our appreciation, very shortly, we will be sending you a plaque just to acknowledge this opportunity. So again, thank you for that strong, powerful message. You all have heard me say before, we stand on the shoulders of giants. Giants who came before us and paved the way to allow us to move forward today. So let's always acknowledge that and show appreciation as we go forward. So again, thank you. And together, we will continue to move our university forward. So we celebrate that vision, that 8-word vision of one goal, one team, one valley in motion. And programs like this show that we indeed are staying in motion. Thank you all.
To my